Um, Most of the text was actually covered by the YouTube video you sent.
Mhm.
So should I explain all the details about that YouTube video too?
Not YouTube video, as you read the text, not on that, let's say, the style of writing, but simply talk about what you learned, what message just um, has been written in the uh, allegory of the cave.
The actual message that the writing expresses is also written by the writer. In the text itself, he represents the cave to be the world of sensual pleasures and what we see in our day-to-day lives. And he expresses um, uh, he expresses the prisoner coming out of the cave to be a way of enlightenment that takes us to the world of spiritual world and a world of spirit and intellect. And after we go to that world of spirit and intellect, we can view things a lot clearly. And he also expresses the sun to be the creator of all things. And um, we can also view the importance of the creator of all things after we get enlightened and come out of the sensual world, after we sacrifice our senses and see from the eyes of our spirit.
That's great. Can we divide the story, let's say, the whole story, that into three phases? Just inside the cave, then the
Inside the yes, inside the cave and coming out for enlightenment and going back again to the sensual world and seeing that there is no meaning, and not wanting to go back to that world, even though the prisoner wants to suffer anything else rather than going back to his uh, past thinking.
Yes, that's one. And also, he went back to them to tell outside world is the enlightened world is even better, but they
He got laughed at.
yeah, the other prisoners were not ready to accept or agree with, or just to listen him. And finally, there's a problem again in the cave, again in that pre enlightenment world. So thank you for your just short sharing on this. Of course, this is based on reading that I could interpret this, analyze this whole text, and just to summarize. But if I just summarize that, we are spoon fed. Then this becomes not quite creative, not based on our own understanding of the text. That's why I request you again, those who have not read the text. I could not find anyone written yes there in the chat box, only except Kikrit. So I shouldn't think that I should ask you individually. Chitiz, have you read the text? Chitiz Acharya? Not yes. So the problem is you don't have the time, or you didn't understand the text, or you didn't have the interest on. So could you explain, because this helps me to go further accordingly. Prasanna Basne, did you read the text? And this is not the level, not the way that we simply go words by words. If I just again share you uh, the things like what actually happens in the text. So there is one saying, water you cannot swim. That's why develop the study habit and go at least because if you read, even if you can read within 15 to 20 minutes. So just listen and read. As you listen, please do go through this reading now as well. Within this period, don't wait for another time. Just within the period, go through the text. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
And do respond as well. Don't think if there is sound background noise or background sounds coming from, no matter, just you can unmute yourself. You can expose yourself, and then you can remain muted. That's what we expect. So let me share the screen again. I should. What do you think? What would be easier, comfortable for you, or meaningful for you? Not only comfortable, meaningful. I'm searching the meaningful way, not comfortable way. I always believe on something that works better, that becomes more meaningful, not just comfortable and easy. Yes, easy food sometimes is not quite good. Sometimes that mean, if that there is a meaning, then that's really helpful. So I should I go through the text, or should I just talk on this analysis and summary part, interpretation part?
Interpretation part would be fine, sir. The rest is in the YouTube video itself.
Yeah, very many things. All the whole information there is already provided there in other videos as well. You will find out about authentic some videos as well. So listening only, joining the classes may not be sufficient. Reading, then this is the level. Reading, then listening again, sharing the information, then consulting some other resources, and even after that, just looking the things in critical way or in critical manner. So let me share the screen here. Briefly, let's discuss on what actually happens there in the text. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will just, if you need this to go further, and if you suppose, I don't think that some of you might be job holder as well. If that is the case, that is the situation, it would be helpful or better, easier for me to uh, provide you the contents accordingly and assign you the task accordingly as well. So let's very briefly, not in detail, to talk about Plato's biography, which is very important. So we must have listened these three names: Socrates, that simply we call Sukrat in Nepali, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Socrates was the guru and colleague of Plato both. So Plato's guru's name was Socrates, and Aristotle's Arastu, simply known as Arastu in Nepali. Arastu's or Aristotle's guru was Plato. That was the relation. Socrates has a disciple Plato, and Plato's disciple was Aristotle. So we can understand from here, he worked with Socrates, and also he worked with Aristotle. He was the veteran personality in the field of philosophy. Plato, we are just skipping Socrates and Aristotle here, focusing only on Plato. He is one of the ancient Greek philosopher, founder of academy. He later on established one of his own institution that was named as Academy. As a founder of academy, his intention was to enlighten other people, just to involve in philosophy, in politics, and so on. He himself was involved in politics some time, for a brief short time, and later on he fully entangled and indulged himself in study of life, study of governance, politics. Only he studied, and mainly philosophy. So he's also the Platonist school of thought, founder of Platonist school of thought. Means based on Plato's ideas, the school was established. Platonism, like Marxism, like communism, and so on, the philosophies, Gandhism, and so on. And simply here, Plato is ancient Greek philosopher, the point to be noted. And due to the lack of primary sources, when was he born and so on, there is ambiguity in people regarding his date of birth. So, but traditional history estimates Plato's birth was around 428 BC. It is most accepted date of birth or time. He was born in 428 BC, before the emergence of Christ. This is BC means before the emergence of Christ. Plato was born in 428. This is mostly accepted by many, because then 2000 years ago, even more than 2000 years ago. Of course, it was difficult to find out that written documented history. We have this established very lately only. So both his parents came from the Greek aristocracy. As we said earlier, uh, uh, Plato was born in aristocratic family. Aristocratic means rich enough. Rich family he was born, and his father, whose name was Ariston, he descended from the kings of Athens. Greek, we have heard in Greek there were Athens and Sparta, and there was war later. And he was the king of Athens and Messenia, but his mother, Peristion, is said to be related to the 6th century BC Greek statesman Solon. So this is all about his family background. He was brought up in rich family, aristocracy. That's why there were two groups again in Greek as well. Earlier in ancient Greek, some were aristocrats and some were very poor. So he was born in rich family. He was taught by some Athens' finest educators. You must have heard about Pythagoras. Have you?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pythagoras was one of his gurus or one of his teacher, and he was taught by those geometry, those related to arithmetics and so on, by such many Athens finest educators. That's why he learned a lot in his education, and he was taught by those experts in different fields: geography, politics, governance, mathematics, science, and so on. And that's why one of the reason as he became so fine in various multidimensional fields as well. This probably helped develop the foundation for Plato's study of metaphysics. This study is study of nature. What is the nature of nature? What is the studies of other natures and so on, and also epistemology. These two are the branches of philosophy: metaphysics and epistemology. Epistemology studies knowledge, related to knowledge or knowledge base, and metaphysics that studies nature. So Plato's later established these two branches of philosophy: epistemology and metaphysics. And he was all influenced by those great ancient educators, and his outcome just resulted in those branches of philosophy in his later stage of life. His father died when he was young, and his mother remarried her uncle. This is also interesting part. And sad part that he was young, his father died, and later on he was in different perception with different involvement. As a young man, Plato experienced two major events. These two just they saved his life. These two events were responsible to save his life, to bring him the position that right now we have been studying him. So he set his course in life based on those two major events. The first one was he met a Greek philosopher we just said earlier, Socrates. After meeting him, he was influenced by his teachings, Socratic methods based on dialogues and mainly dialogues and debate. Socrates believed on dialogue. Learning should be based on dialogue. There should be question, there should be debate, and there should be interaction. That is the base for learning. And Plato was influenced by Socratic that method as well. And he was much highly influenced by Socrates. So that's why Plato has the guru, his teacher, Socrates. And the second important event in his life was there was the war between ancient Greek between Athens and Sparta. That is simply known as Peloponnesian War, Peloponnesian War. And this war brought one concept in himself. He involved in it, though briefly, shortly, and then later on he served for this war. Later on, Athens won the war. Sparta lost it. Later, democracy was established, an ancient democracy was just established there in that Athens, let's say Greek, ancient Greek. So later on, after the war, he quitted from there. Then he involved in politics, but he left this. He left politics because his guru Socrates was executed in 399 BC, and then Plato turned himself to a life of studying and philosophy, as well as he just started studying nature of the humans, nature of philosophy, and later on he attempted to convey Socratic philosophy and teachings. He just circulated those philosophy of Socrates and teachings of Socrates among the people. And here, not only he studied life of people or nature of the people, but also philosophy that covered music, drama, in other arts and creation and other fields as well. So he is multidimensional. Later he became, after he quitted politics and then established himself in the study of philosophy. Again, we discussed about this in previous class as well. What is the topic that you can see on the slide?
Introduction.
Okay, fine. As we said, no need to have much discussion about this, because almost each and every group of people, they are aware of his name, his contribution, his let's say achievement that he has provided us throughout the civilization, early civilization. Still, even after 2000 years back, we have been learning him. We have been he has been just listed in the courses of our university level and so on, because of his achievements. He wrote 30, has been said to write. He has written just depicted 36 books, and among them the Republic, that has been the masterpiece by Plato, has been thought the key or the main major by Plato. Though he has written Apology, that is based on Socratic philosophy, Socratic life, and others, including 36 books. And this text, the text we are going to talk about, the Allegory of the Cave, is taken from this book, the Republic. So mainly he talks about the nature of that, nature of the humans, nature of society, nature of education and enlightenment, and also nature of ignorance there in the book. So this is the base. And the renowned Greek philosopher Plato attempted to dive deeper than anyone else, because Socrates was assassinated, and then he took the poison, and later on he was compelled to suicide. That was the case, though somewhere it is said he was killed as well in early life. But after him, he had much influence on Socrates, and then he had the time to dive deeper into the philosophy, study of the world, and so on. He became curious. The philosopher is a person who is always interested to get something more and more, never curious, never fed up with the knowledge, always is curious. That is the person who is known as philosopher. And he was such had this hunger of this knowledge and information. And then later on he just discussed about human nature and society, politics, governance, music, arts, literature, culture, and so on. So every field he has been involved, and mainly he focused on education among them. And in this the Allegory of the Cave as well, we discuss what has happened in the life when the life was under the den, under the cave, and after enlightened, what the person, how has he been perceived himself or the world around him, and how the availability of it can produce a better person. And his focus is there, just capturing the reality for humans after getting enlightened, after getting educated. His ideas are important. He just believed on idealistic society, Adarsa Samaj, Adarsa Rajya, Ram Rajya. Thus, he believed on this Ram Rajya, that Ram Rajya, or this established form of society where it is always ideal state, ideal society, and there is no injustice in the society. He believed on this philosophy, and ideal society or ideal state is propounded by Plato. His theory of forms, or simply we know as theory of ideas, this is also very important, and the same theory applies in that the allegory of the cave as well. So he just believed on ideal world, perfect in itself, which is perfect in itself. There is no injustice, no criminal, no that criminal activities, no, let's say, discrimination between people. Like earlier, he wrote this. He just originated this idea based on Greek. Or in earlier Greek, there was discrimination between aristocrats and poor ones. There were classes of society, and he just wanted to establish that that justifiable society, or that idealist society. So his main four beliefs include: think more, explore yourself, and this encourages us as well. What we are getting from his allegory of the cave, or his life, his philosophy is think more. We have the thinking ability. We are just thinking creative animal, and explore yourself. Do not limit yourself in that much limited environment. So explore, go beyond that. This, if you think more, of course it becomes easier for you to cross your that comfort zone easily as well. So exploring yourself in the field you are involved in rest of the field you are not involved in. So dive into it as well. That's his basic idea. The second one is let your lover change you. So you might have seen so many love stories are ultimately they end in tragedy. What might be the reason? Can you have some ideas?
Expectations.
Good. Yes. So when you have expectations, even listen, if you have some expectations, that's why I ask my students, please do not join the class only for getting with some expectations. Join classes with mutual sharing ideas. So just cater for yourself, just exchanging ideas. Whatever you have, you can contribute yourself in just among your class. For example, we are 20, 20, 30, or 31, or let's say there is one saying. Let me just stop it here. There is one saying that two watches, two different times, and two different minds, two different ideas. So that is the flavor of classroom. What time is in your watch? How is it? What time is it there?
7:34.
7:34. And seconds? Of course, different. I have here on my cell phone, on my watch, it's 7:35. So look at, we have difference even in seconds, in minute, and in two different watch clocks. Three, of course, they may not be same. Similarly, if we are two people together, three people together, or more than three together, there we have many ideas. That's why do not have some just in your mind, do not have some only expectations. If you have expectations, and if your expectations are not fulfilled, then you may lose the game, or you may have some failure. You may be the failure, but try to have some ideas with exchanging, sharing, and so on. So here from his second idea, let your lover change you, means in love as well, in rest of the things as well. It is not very good to have just expectations. I will get this from that or from this. If there is expectation, of course, that becomes the root cause for sometimes for deception, failure, and so on. So this is important. Then the third one is decode the message of beauty. in that if you just link this with it in reading, just don't think that what I will get from the text. Just think that what can I give, what can I share my ideas with the text. If you go into in that way, of course your reading becomes more meaningful and more let's say qualitative. We can just interpret the things, the ideas in different ways. So far, is there any question? Is it clear, or am I clearly audible? This the information clear?
Yes, sir.
Others? So this 1s must be representative in some cases, but in some cases it is not. Okay. The third thing is decode the message of beauty. So look at the beauty. Beauty is everywhere. There is one saying, beauty lies in the eyes of beholders. Who looks the beauty, who looks something, you look one thing, and there for you there is no beauty at all. For the rest of them there might be beauty. So decode this message of beauty as well. So we have to decode, we have to infer that message of beauty. And it is we people, it is our individuality, it is ourself that we have this potentiality. And this is very important in everywhere, every case. Next thing, the fourth idea is reform society. Just based on his idea of reforming society, ideal state, ideal society, why injustice? Why not justice in the society? Why people have not been treated equally, and so on. So based on this, his ideas have been equally important in politics and so on. And one thing, just he just said, to be a true leader, statesmanship, to be a, let's say, to be a true politician, one must be philosopher. Plato said. Why this? Why did he say this? If the philosopher is in a person who has this philosophical understanding, is involved in the society or involved in the state, involved in the governance, of course he will work for the reformation of society. If he does not have, if he is illiterate, he does not have enlightenment of the education, does not have this philosophical understanding, he will not work for his state, he is not work for ideal state, rather he will work for only his cadres. And this we can see in Nepal as well. In Nepalese case, Nepalese politics, this also can be seen. This is the very true. Then is another school was the forms. The allegory of is another which has been rooted again into the forms. His school is simply named as or known as Platonism, and this Platonism is his belief, his theory, his belief system, and we are studying this right now. And all we have been studying Plato are based on his Platonism. And it's a theory of forms. Platonism has the theory of forms, which is theory of forms developed again, propounded by Plato. And this theory of forms is known as theory of ideas as well, that we discussed 4 ideas, important ideas in every field. And what do they do is, the theory of forms denies the reality of the material world. This material world is transitory. This is copy, just the copy of the real image. We have not been entered into the real world. We have been just living in the imaginary world, this material world. And material world is transitory. There is unhappiness, there is betrayal, there is injustice, and everything there. This insecurity is there. So in material world, like we can just incorporate this material world with the world in the cave. People were all confined there. They were not able to see beyond their limitations. They were very limited, and this is one that was only the image, or that was only the copy of the real world. So one thing, the theory of denies this. There are at least 2 worlds based on Plato's philosophy, Platonism. What we believe is, or what we get is, there are 2 different worlds. The one is apparent, clear, apparent world of concrete objects. It has been grasped by the senses, our senses, like we can imagine, we can see, we can just feel, touch. And this world is constantly changes, and an unchanging and unseen world. The second one is unseen world. The world we are living is the first one. This is concrete one. We can see this. We can see just some pictures, some objects there, buildings. We can see Himalayas. We can see this rivers, and this all. This has been just grasped by our images, our senses, sense organs, and it constantly changes. You can see, if you study your own world, you were small, and your world was one on the lap of your mother, and then of course you grew up, and of course your world changed, isn't it? Do you believe on this changing world?
Yes, sir.
Of course, because we were small, our that world was different. But we grew up, we have more information. Of course, now the world is grew up. You are not limited in your Kathmandu Valley. You are not limited in your just a single room. Let's say now you are just looking beyond that, many countries, the whole world. You can just imagining, but still that apparent world is not complete in itself. This is again that uh, one reality, that is the copy, that is the like photocopy of the real world, and what the theory of forms denies this. There is another world that is unchanging, but that is unseen. That is the world of enlightenment. That is the world beyond our comfort zone. And if we do not move ourselves beyond that comfort zone, we cannot see it. That's unchanging world. That's the world of enlightenment. So this is abstract. Abstract objects are there. There is no that uh, grasping, grasped by pure reason, your logic, your enlightenment, your this far insighted world is there. But this can we can reach into this world with dialogues, with interactions, with debate, with our senses, with our logic. And so he believes on this, like the person just dragged out from the cave, and he came into that unchanging reality and the real world. And then he was in different world, and later on he again just went back to the cave, just to tell other prisoners, to tell, oh wow, how it is outside, unseen, that unchanging world outside. But they do not believe him. As we see, the cave or cavic existence inside underground that den, this is physical world, and it is sensible world as well. Physical, that they can see it, that they can just visualize it. And it is the world in which there is no permanence, no stability, no consistency, and no consistency as well, and no security there. They have been all confined. There is just the blaze of the fire in the cave. And this is ever-changing world of Maya, ever-changing world of illusion. And this just often one takes as the real or the photocopy of the real. So just believe here, two worlds. One is changeable, one another. The changeable is one materialistic world, just a copy of the real world. And this unseen, there is still unseen and unchanging one that we cannot grasp by our senses. Rather, we grasp it by our pure reason, logic. So coming to this allegory of the cave, as you have written, there are so many allegories. Allegory just is the representation of something in different way, in indirect way. So here, in the allegory of cave, life has been represented in one way, in confined way, but the same life that has been just depicted or described in different way there in the text outside of the cave. Okay, just for a second, think of whatever we have discussed so far. Just imagine and think of, go beyond in your horizon of that you have gone so far within a minute. Keep yourself busy in thinking. How many people have joined us now? Okay, thank you. Thank you for, and hope everyone is listening us, and we are able to have some discussion as well later. And hope everyone is attending well their classes. Okay. As we discussed about this most important allegories ever to be gifted to humankind by this great philosopher, Allegory of the Cave by Plato, is one of the most potent and pregnant of allegories. This has given other ideas based on this. This has become the base, the resource, let's say. This describes the human condition in both states, when they were limited in the cave or outside of this, or when they were in fallen state, or when they were in risen state, or when they were ignorant, uneducated, and when they were educated. What happens if the person is educated? He works for the betterment of others. He tries to work for the welfare of others as well in the state of risen. But in the state of fallen, even the nature of human beings inside the cave is just they try to look at. You can see that last image. The people there just they make laugh at the person who just returned back after just to give them the message from the rising state. Okay, from here we can just describe both the nature of both people in ignorance or uneducated or unlightened state, or that's simply known as fallen state. But what happens, or how is their nature in the risen state as well? And Plato's Allegory of the Cave further is one of the most well-known philosophical concepts in history or in philosophy as well. That's why we are going to discuss here. There is some more. I'll post this if I could not finish all this description. I'll post this upload there in the notes section. You can just once go through this as well. So the cave or cavic existence, as we described earlier, there is no permanence, no stability, no consistency, no security. It's all illusionary world. It changes. That's why people get changing their states, their status, their decisions, their relationships, ever changing, because they are in illusion. And we cannot believe on this. If we say, how is that possible? Why? It is just saying, but we are limited, we are confined, we are in our comfort zone, because there still we do not go beyond that. There is absurdity. Let's say human existence itself is absurd. It is absolutely ridiculous. Like the absurdity of human condition is about when the individual begins to search for permanence and security in realm whose fruit is anything but permanence and security. So we have been working, searching for this permanence, security, uh, permanent job, permanent house, permanent settlement, more security. This is human absurdity. But even after security, will they live for thousands years? Never. Impossible. 500 years? Impossible. Again, there we are just searching for this permanence. This is absurdity. Absolutely ridiculous. So this has been also discussed there by it. We all are confined in our place, in our comfort zone. It is permanent. I'm permanent here. I'm more secure here. I feel more security here. That's all ridiculous. What every human being just yearns for or longs for is happiness, comfort, contempt, quality of life, consistency, and they can never be attained so long as they are sought in a certain realm whose essential nature is change and impermanence. World itself is changeable, itself is impermanence. Then why we are searching for this permanency? His belief system, his philosophy. If we consider this in the allegory of the cave as well, the people, they were limited in the cave, they did not try to go beyond that. Just they were feeling permanent there. They were feeling more secure there. They were feeling fulfilled there. They were present. They were kept, and they did not go beyond that existing situation. These are human feelings. These are human yearnings. These are human longings. In this case, the human being is in this stage. Human being can either live within cave or outside of it. So we have to choose in comfort zone or beyond that. Risk taking is gaming as well. The allegory of the cave is about the existence of two worlds, as we said earlier. But this still there is a difference, quite radical difference in life perspectives in both worlds, in inside and outside of it. So what actually does it? As we just go into the text as well, allegory of the cave, it has the meaning. As we said, there is the dialogue between Plato and his brother Glaucon. Glaucon is named as his brother, and actually it represents the idea in his own mind that has been presented or formatted in a dialogic form. Dialogic form means if whose philosophy is this? Whose school of
Plato.
thought? Dialogue and debate were the two thoughts of propounded by good. Socrates propounded this dialogue, and based on this dialogue, that schooling, he has just formatted this text. And there is conversation between Plato and his brother named Glaucon. Within this conversation, just they discuss what would happen if the prisoners inside the cave, if they realized the world, their prisoners realized that the world they were watching was a lie. What would happen? What would be the case? What would be the condition of human? So sometimes he said, absolutely yes, certain, good, yes, that confirmation. They go in that way. So for this, I just again I go in that humble request. You to read the text once again. Otherwise, you cannot look at really that dialogue. So I hope you have been going through the dialogue or going through the text right now as well. Along with listening, do involve in reading as well. Both works better. Sorry. Plato uses this allegory as a way to discuss the deceptive appearance of things because of realming world, because of unreal world, because of changing world, because of deceptive world as we see in the real world. So he just represented the appearances of this deceptive deception. And through this dialogue, through this allegory of the cave, just he encourages people, he motivates us to yearn for abstract ideas, to focus on enlightened world, not being limited into that concrete or imaginary world. So this is the concept devised by philosopher just to ruminate two different beliefs, two different views, the nature of belief versus knowledge. Nature of belief, what we believe, and how knowledge is, what knowledge really is. Talking briefly, there are the states. Within 5 minutes, I will cover these two. States that there exist as prisoners chained together. We have seen this; they are limited in the cave, and behind the prisoner is the fire. We can see fire that in the image, in the YouTube video as well, and there in the pictures that has been presented in PDF slide, but that is not clear. And between the fire and the prisoners are people. There are people, they are carrying puppets or other objects, and they are sitting there. There are some standing on the gate as well. So this shows a shadow on the other side of the wall. There is a wall as well on the midway, and the prisoners was these shadows, and they believe that shadow is the real one. So means that they have been confined in the cave. Those who have been sitting nearby the fire, just behind them there is fire blaze, and they are saying that with that fire they are seeing some images, and that these images are what they believe on real. This Plato posits. Plato believes that one prisoner could become free, and he is dragged, or he finally sees the fire, and he realizes the shadows are fake. These are images. This prisoner who became free, he could escape from the cave and discover there is a whole new world outside that cave, and that they previously were unaware of this. They were not confined. They were not concerned about this new world, and this new world was found by that prisoner who became free and who came out of the cave. This prisoner would believe the outside world is so much more real than that in the cave. This is what he finds real. He gets into the another world, and he found it a real one. He would try to return to free the other prisoners as well. He's after enlightened, he tried to free other prisoners as well. But what happens is, upon his return, we can see he is blinded. How? His eyes are not accustomed, not habituated to actual sunlight. Inside the cave, there was the that uh, fire blaze, but outside there was the real sunlight, and because of this real sunlight, he became some sorts of he was not accustomed, not habituated, and he became blind for a while. And the chained prisoners would see this blindness and believe they will be harmed if they try to leave the cave. So they were in search of permanency, in conformity, and they believe that if they leave that place, of course they will be harmed. This is what they believe. And we watched this in previous YouTube. Still, you have not watched, please go through this, watching this video again. So this will be on those who have not watched earlier will be given some. It is still, there is some more description, but due to the time, let me end the presentation today here. So if you have any questions further, once still you have one period for this, I will discuss this further in one more class tomorrow as well. This much for today. Thank you, everyone, and you'll get these PPTs in the note section. You can read out the text. Yes, this much for today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.